Hilchis Chovel U'Mazik, Perek Chamishi. So until now we're learning the halachas of a person's Chovel B'Chavere. There's a special din that is Chayev Chamisha Dvarim. Here the Rambam is going to say that there's an Isser to be Chovel. There's an Isser to be Chovel B'Chavere, and there's an Isser also to be Chovel B'Atzmei, which is really similar. We learned in the game Niski Moment that there's a din that if your moment was Mazik, so you're responsible. And then the Rambam also in Perek Hey, in Niski Moment, spoke about that there's an Isser to be Mazik someone else. Not besides the fact that there's a Chiyuv Tashlumin when you Mazik someone, there's actually an Isser to be Mazik someone else, or an Isser to let your moment be Mazik someone else. So Alderech over here, Alderech over here, there's an Isser to be Chovel B'Chaveri, besides the Chiyuv Tashlumin for Chovel B'Chaveri. And that Isser is even of a Chovel B'Atzmei. Perek Chamishi. Osir la'odam lachbel, bein ba'atzmei, bein b'chaveri. There's an Isser to make a Chavola, say in himself, and say in his Chaver. And that din, the Alter Rebbe brings in Shulchan Aruch that a person's guf is not in his rishus. It's based on a radvaz that a person's guf is not his. It's the Eibishter's. The Eibishter is the balabas of his guf, and he's not the balabas of his own guf. So therefore, just like he has no right to be chovel b'cherim, he also has no right to be chovel b'atzmi because he's not the balabas alatzmi. The Eibishter is the balabas alatzmi. Then the Rambam continues. So chovel means you made a wound. So there's an issur to make a wound in someone, and there's an issur to make a wound in yourself. Then the Rambam continues, V'lei achevel bilvad, elakol hamaka odom kosher miyisrael, ben kotten, ben godel, ben ish, ben isha, derech nitzoyin, as a fight. In other words, if you do it, l'moshel arav, haredes talmidei, or av hamakas b'nei, so that's something else. But over here, when a person hits someone, either he hits someone, either a cotton or a godel, or ish or a isha, in a way of a fight. In other words, you're doing it in a way that you don't have a right to do it. So then, as Hareza Eva Belesa said, there's a lav for hitting someone. It says, besides the issue of being chovel, chovel is the taiches. In chovel, there's two in yon. There's first of all you're hitting him, and secondly you're causing him a wound. So in other words, you're injuring him. So there's hitting someone and there's injuring someone. So there's an isser to injure someone, and that isser is also to injure yourself. And then there's another din. There's a lav. There's an isser to hit someone. And there's a law for hitting someone. That pasuk is talking about someone that's chayiv malchus, and that you're not allowed to be moisev on the makas. You're only allowed to give him the amount of makas which he's supposed to get, but not any more than that. There's a law of leyesev lakese. So we learn out im is hiratera milahesev bakois achete. If the Torah is saying that someone that bam is a chet and he's getting malchus, nevertheless there's a law to add any malchus. Is kal v'chemal malchus at tzaddik, someone that's not in a position where he's mechuyev malchus, or maybe he's considered a tzaddik, and such a person for sure there's a law to be makim. In other words, it's all included in that law. It's not just kal v'chemer, but din kal v'chemer that you have to come on to an inshim and adin. Over here, this kal v'chemer means it's nichlal in this din. Halacha beis, afilu lagbia yodi el chaveri is also aser. The actual just raising your hand in order to hit someone is also aser. V'chol ha'magbia yodi el chaveri, afal pishli hiko, even though he didn't hit him bepeil, is hariza rosha. The actual act, that's we learn out from the pasuk l'rosha, rosha lama sakariyacha, that the actual hagbo al manas to hit someone is also considered a rosha. The Rebbe brings that you don't get malchus for that hagbo. And the reason is because lepel, the isser is connected to the machshava. Whereas the actual picking up the hand didn't do anything wrong unless it goes together with the machshava to hit. So it's the machshava which makes the isser. And since it's the machshava which makes the isser, so therefore it goes into together of a lav shein b'maisa. It goes into together lav shein b'maisa. Al derech l'mashal, there is a din. I don't think the Rebbe tells this too, but al derech there's a din that if you choizel eretz Mitzrayim al manas to stay there, you chayiv malchus. It's an isser. But lepil, you're not chayiv malchus, and the reason is because the actually going there, that's not the isser. The isser is only because you're almanas to stay there, and the almanas to stay there, that's a machshava. So Mamela goes into a together of a lav shemi ma'isa. Just we see from here that there could be a chatimsa when you're doing a ma'isa, and when that ma'isa needs a certain machshava in order for that ma'isa to be an isser. But since it's the machshava which is making the ma'isa the isser, so therefore the ma'isa is not considered a lav sheyesh be ma'isa. Because the yesod of the Isser is based on the machshava. Halacha Dalet. Knas konsu chachomim le'elo hashoitem bal Izreya sheyehanech bal ne'eman v'nishba b'nechitzas chayfetz shezeh chovel bei chavol zeh v'noitel masheroy loy. So you have a chatimtza, which we'll soon see that we have a yesod that he was a nechbal, but that yisod be'emes on a minatera level is not enough to be tivei moment. It's not enough to be tivei moment. But the Chacham said that if he has a yisod that he's a nechbal, even though on a minatera level he can't be tivei moment, but nevertheless he could be tivei moment through being on nishba v'neitel. There's enough of a yisod that he should be able to be a neitel only midrabanan if he's a nishba v'neitel. This is minatera, he can't take the money. But midrabanan, he could take the money, but he has to be a nishba v'neitel. V'hu, but there has to be shiyah shom edem ketzad. Hoyu shnei edem me'idnei say shenichnas l'teich yodi shalim v'yotza chovel. We have that Reuven went into the house with Shimon, and lepel Reuven went out chovel, and v'leira'u be'esha chovel. But le'edem didn't see that the person that the other person was chovel. He only saw that he went in shalim with this person, and now the one person went out chovel. V'hu eimer, and the other person tainas lechavalti. I wasn't chevel. V'halo eimer, no, I thought chavalta be. So then is areza nishba v'netla. So in other words, Reuven and Shimon go into a room, and lepel Shimon comes out chovel, and Reuven tainas he wasn't chevel. No one actually saw him being chevel, but they saw him going into a room not chovel and coming out of the room chovel. So then the din is that this nechbal could be a nishba and netel from the chevel. Now, b'med dvarim amurim. Why do we need that he should be on nishba v'netel? Is because lepel there's still a possibility that he was chevel b'atzmei. Knows it was a makeh. Knows the other person's saying I wasn't chevel. How did this happen? He's saying that he did it to himself. That's one option. Or maybe there was a third person. Maybe the nechbal is the one that told the third person to do it, and now he's having tinus to the second person. In other words, Reuven and Shimon walk into a room. Shimon is perfectly all right. Now Shimon comes out, nechbal, and the tinus Reuven was chayvulim, and lepel Reuven is tinus. I wasn't chayvulim. Levi was chayvulim. So there still is a possibility that maybe somehow or another Shimon asked Levi to be chayvulim, and we're going to blame Reuven. We're going to blame Reuven. So, but nevertheless, we say no. That's a very far possibility that he's blaming the wrong person. And knows Levi was the one that was chayvel, and Lepel is blaming Reuven. So therefore, the Chacham instituted that he could be a nishba v'netel. That's talking about Nachmal. So we're talking about in a case where the two of them went into a room, and there is a possibility that this person didn't do it because either he did it to himself or someone else did it to him, and he's blaming him. So then the Chacham instituted that he should be a nishba v'netel. Avalim eini moy machers. There's really no possibility that anyone else did it. There was no other person there, and also the makkah was in a place that he couldn't have done it to himself. Again, he had a bite between his shoulders. So Mela, obviously, there was no way that he did it to himself. So someone did it to him, and this person was the only person there. And there's Adam saying that these two went in without a makkah, and he came out with a makkah. So then is a reason that you don't have to have Adam that actually saw them giving the makkah. The Adam saw things happening, which proves to us that it must be that he gave the makkah. There's not a din of Ederi over here. There's a din that the Edi know that this is what happened. Masha'inkin, if there is still a remote possibility that he's not the one that did it, so then the din is that the Chacham instituted it should be a nishba v'netel. Halacha vav. Now this case we learned before that two people went into a room, and it's not 100% that he was the one that was chayvel. He's timing that this person was chayvelim, and the other person said that he wasn't chayvel, so then the din was that he's a nishba v'netel. However, if hoida ha'chayvel shu chavel, in that case, the chayvel was made that he was the chayvel, so then it's mashalim chamisha dvarim, then he pays all chamisha dvarim, not only as we'll see behemshech, when a person is tamazay made that he was chayvel, without having this case of the Edom, saw them going into a room and coming out of a room, so we'll soon learn that b'negeya, certain things he is chayiv, certain things he isn't chayiv. Masha'inkan over here, when they went into a room together, and he went into a room together, like the case before, that he wasn't chovel, and then they came out, he was chovel, and he's timing that this person was chevelim. So if that person denies it, so he's a nishba v'netel. If he doesn't deny it, so then he takes everything. Mishalem chamisha dvarim. Sharei edom hoyisham shenichnas al teich yod yishalim b'shas hameriva. The edom were there that they went in a fight, and v'yatza chovel. So here is the Rambam. The Rambam didn't really mention that earlier, The Rambam didn't mention that this whole din that he's a nishba v'netel is when they went in as a fight. They went in. Here the Rambam seems to be saying that they went in as a fight. And some achreinim, the tumim, the medayik, that this whole din that he's a nishba v'netel is only when they went in as a fight, because then it's muchacham milsa that he's the one that did it. But I'll call upon him. In such a case, he takes all chamisha dvar. Aval im lehoyisham edom klal. There are no edom b'klal. There's a new case, and the person tainas, the nechbal is taina to the chevel, you are chevel. Or without being taina, and lepel, the chevel, the one that taka was chevel, is the one that's being made. He's being made that he was chavel b'chaveri. Who emer chaval to be? The nitva, the tiveya is taina chaval to be, the nechbal, and v'heidem yatzmei, and he was made without edem. So the din is potter min ha-nezik min ha-tzar. So that's the Shittas Rambam, that nezek and tsar don't go into the gather of something which haidas baldin would be mechayev. Nezek is like a certain knas. This masim with the Shittas Rambam that nezek is not mamish a regular payment for the loss. And as we learned before, that be'emes it should be kasher yosimum bechaver ken yosim bei. It's just that Torah said that you could be paid to yourself by paying this payment. So it's not like a regular momonistic payment. It's a payment like to be paid to yourself of what really should have happened to you as a result of doing what you did. So memela, I'll call upon him. So you're potter min ha-nezik min ha-tzar. So from nezik and tzar you're potter. However, you're chayev b'sheves u'bebeishes u'beripui al piatzmi. So when a person was made that he was chevel b'chaveri, so Shittas Rambam is that b'negeya sheves, beishes and ripui. So then you are chayev al piatzmi. Masha'enkim b'negeya nezik and tzar, you're not chayev al piatzmi. Tsar is not something like such a clear thing, so it's not like a hezik mamish. It's you a geirim and tsar. So that din is not al piatzmi. That's number one. And al derez the nezik, like we're saying, that nezik is not really. It's like the nezik, nor is the loss that the person has nabach from having this chavola could be much greater than what he's being paid. So the payal is, and it's not replacing it. It's just that you're giving him a certain payment, like the Rambam says, in order to be paid himself. Al tikhul kefer the nefesh ritzeach, the ritzeach yatal lekeach kefer. But you take a kefer for Evarim, so it's al derav kefer. So I'll call upon him. The din is that when he's made, he's potter from the nezek and the tsar, and he's chayiv and the sheves and the beishus and the ripui. Lefichach im kofar va'omar lechavalti. If he tain is lechavalti, so then his nishba shvuas hesses, because lepel, if he would have said chaval, he would have been chayiv in the sheves and in the beishus and in the ripui. Now, v'lama mishalim odem shleishu dvarim elu al piatzmi. Why? The nezik and tsar, the Rambam is not asking why not. The Rambam is asking why are these shleishu dvarim elu al piatzmi? Yeah, she says sheves v'ripui momenu v'lei knas. Sheves v'ripui is regularly momen. She'im le'itin le, because if he's not going to pay him for the sheves and the ripui, is that a chistri momen shu misrapi bei. He needs money in order to heal himself, and also a bottom mamlachte. So therefore, the fact that he has to pay for ripu and sheves is not a kasha. That's a regular chiyuv moment. Now, v'habeishis. What about why is he paying for the beishis? Just like you don't pay for tsar, because tsar is not really such a tangible thing, and therefore, if he was made so if there's edim that he owes him the tsar, that he was chayvel him, so the Torah says he b'chayev the tsar. But lepel, since he's being moida, so that doesn't have a din of a moida. That's not a regular chiyuv moment. So Memela, when the chayvel was moida to the nechbal, that he was chayvel him, so he doesn't have to pay the tsar. That's understandable. What's understandable? Because the pshat is because it's not a regular nezik dikachiyuv. There's a nezik dikachiyuv. You made it that you broke someone's table, so the person had a table, and now you broke it, so you have to replace it. Mashenkin, when we're dealing with tsar, it's not something of replacing something. You're giving him money in order to appease him for the pain you caused. So here we're saying that when you're made in the nezik that you caused tsar, so you're potter. You're potter on the nezik and you're potter on the tsar. So why are you chayim on the beishis? The beishis is also not something which is such concrete that there's a replacement of something. So it says vabeishis. So on that the Rambam says lehigia le'ele b'sho sheheda b'fanenu shu chavel bei. When this person, the chayvel, is moida that he was chavel bei, that's when he's getting the beishis. Shahanechbal sheli chavel bei b'fnei odom ein li beishis. The busha for getting hit is only because he got hit in front of people, and that's the busha of being hit. Memele v'hida asi bebeisen he should be a sheisa. So really, so it comes out from the Rambam that he's not really paying for the busha that he caused when he hit him. And now he's admitting about that busha and he has to pay for that busha. He's paying for the busha that he's causing right now. The actual hidah, that's the busha which he's causing him right now, and therefore he has to pay for it. That's what it says in the Rambam. It's like fair to understand, because l'chura there's different madregas in busha. There's a busha that comes from the act, and there's also a busha which comes through the matzav, So he's being moided that he caused the matzav, and mele l'chura he has to pay for that busha as well. Not only the busha of b'shas hamakeh or b'shas when he's saying the hidah. That's number one. And also, what happens if the person is being teveya? He's tining that you are makami, and he's admitting that you are makami. So why is that person being gerim busha? Why is he being gerim busha? We're saying hu emer chavaltabi. That's the lashon Rambam in halacha vav. So he's tining chavaltabi. So if he's tining chavaltabi, so why is that calling busha? It's hard to understand. But Akoparim, the Rambam says that let's just say the din that when a person is moida that he was mazik someone, so he's potter from the nezik and the tsar, he's chayiv beripui and the sheves and the boishes. And the Rambam explains why is he chayiv in the boishes, because lepel the hidah is causing the boishes. Halacha ches nitzas lamed, which is a hemshel to this biur, she'ein hefresh beboishes ben boishes hamagia le im chovel be b'fnei acherim or ben boishes hamagia le be'esh sheheda b'fnei acherim shechovel be. So the same busha which he causes when he's chovel b'fnei acherim, that same busha he causes to him when he admits b'fnei acherim shechovel be. Lefichach mishalim odem beishes al piyatzmi. It needs further asbara. This avona that when a person is moedas, so he's causing him beishes, and the same madrega of beishes like when he was chovel b'fnei acherim. Halacha tes. Ein doime mazik chaveri begufei lemazik mameni. There could be two echatimtzes. A person is mazik chaveri begufei, where over there's the din of the chamisha dvarim, and then there's another din of mazik mameni. There ain't a doime. In what sense? Shamazik mamen chaveri kiven sheshila mashu chayiv l'shalom. Once he paid up what he's chayiv l'shalom, is niskaperle. So that was the kapara. He owes him the money. In other words, he replaces he replaces the money that he caused him the loss, and that causes the kapara. That affects the kapara. Avol chavel b'chaverei avol pishanosan lechamisha dvarim. He gave him more than just the nezik. He gave him the chamisha dvarim. Aber ein mischaperle va'afilu hikriv kol elim nevoyis. All the elim of nevoyis is ein mischaperle v'leinim chalavene ad sheyivakish min amnechbol v'yimchalei. Now, since he was chovel in him, so he doesn't only have to compensate him with money, he also has to be mavakish mechila, and he needs that person should be mechil in order for him to have the kapara. That's on one hand. So the chovel has to realize that the paying up the chamisha dvarim is not enough. He also needs the mechila of the nechbal. But on the other hand is va'asur lenechbal lachayud va'asur lenechbal lias achzori v'layimchel. There's a iser for the nechbal to be an achzori, not to be mechel. Ein zu derech zeri Yisrael. That's not derech zeri Yisrael. We see that they weren't mekabel the gevena to be Yisrael because they weren't mechel. So mainly they weren't considered part of Klal Yisrael. Elikiva shebikesh meno achevel v'neschana leipam rishena ushnia v'yada shushav michete v'nichem al rosei. It was only when he sees that he's sincere, he's taka shav michete, and he really has charot on what he did, and he did it once or twice, is yimchalei. And v'chol ha'memayir limchel is harei meshubach ve'ruach hacham neichimana. So one difference between a chovel b'chaveri as opposed to mazik mameni, when a person is mazik mameni, so as soon as he gives him the money, he reimburses him for the money that he damaged. So then he's potter. He already has the kapara. Masha'inkin, when a person is chovel b'chaveri, so then it's not enough to pay him even the chamisha dvarim, but rather you have to also have that person should be mechel. And also that's din number one mitzad the chovel, and mitzad the nechbel, it's roy that he should be mechel. He should be mechel miyat. Halacha yudal, the ediyash hefresh bein niske gufel and niske mameni. There's another difference. What's the other difference? Sha'oimel chaveri sami es einei k'taes yodi al manashat potter. A person tells him you could do damage to me, and you'll be potter. As far as I'm concerned, you'll be potter. So the din is if he goes ahead and taka does this damage, is a reza chayev b'chamisha dvarim. I lepeil, this person told him you could do it in your potter because shadavar yedua she'ein adam reitze bekach, and he really wasn't. There was no real gemiras das that he was really maskim that person sherachmon al-islam be kotes yodi or sami yisene and be potter. So he wasn't really maskim, and therefore if the person the mazik goes ahead and does it, so he does it as if he never was given permission. That's talking about when you're talking about something of niski gufi. If he tells him to do something to something that he owns, and he tells him clearly that you're going to be potter, is a potter, she is potter. So that's the difference. This is another difference. That b'negeya, when a person says to be mazik my goof and be potter, so he's still chayiv. Masha'enken, if he says mazik my moment and be potter, so then he's taka potter. Now what happens? He didn't say al manash ani potter. V'im le omer le al manash ata potter. So then is ariza chayiv l'shalom afal pishir shol hashchas. So the Rambam is saying that if he didn't tell him al manash ani potter, so then he is chayiv l'shalom. But that din, the Rambam say immediately qualified by medvar mamurim. When do we say that when a person tells someone kras ksusi or do something to my possessions, and without saying that you'll be potter, he's chayiv? So we're talking about a person that's a shamer on someone's kelim. So be'emes he has chiyuv shmira. Be'etzem it's his obligation to make sure that things are fine. Now he goes ahead and tells this person, go ahead and kras ksusi. In other words, you have my ksus in your possession, kras ksusi. So be'emes, this shamer is going to be chayiv, not mitzvah. Normally when a shamer is kareya the ksus, he's not chayiv because of the ma'isa mazik. He's chayiv because he's a shamer, and memela he has to have the item to give back. So memela, so as I say, when a person tells a person, let's just say, when a person says someone kras ksusi, and that person is not a shamer, so memela he's basically saying, there's normally you're not allowed to be mazik meinechosim. As far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with you being mazik meinechosim. And therefore, even though he didn't say he's potter because Lepel, he was given permission from the owner to go ahead and do this damage. Masha'inkin, in a case where this person is a shamer, and he tells him kras ksusi, is eina chinami. He's telling him kras ksusi as far as it didn't mazik your potter, but you have another chiv, you have a din shamer. And memela misad the din shamer you'll be chayiv. I never said you'll be potter from the din shamer. I'm saying I'll din mazik your potter, but he'll be chayiv I'll din shamer. So therefore, when he's a shamer, in order for him to be Kareas Ksusa and be Potter, it has to be that the owner, the Mafkid, has to tell him Kras Ksusi, and Vihi Potter, you'll also be Potter not only from Kras Ksusi, from the Maisa of the Mazik, you'll also be Potter, Al Zin Shemer. That's this din. Amedvar Mamurim, Shebo Akelim Liodit Chila B'Teira Shmira. In other words, he was a Shemer. Kin Shoyu Shu'ulim Mufkodnes. And V'Amali Shver Ukrav Osekain is Chayiv L'Shalom. So he's Chayiv L'Shalom because he's a Shemer. So Eina Chinami is not Chayiv L'Shalom al Tzmazik, but he has the Chayiv L'Shalom al Shemer. Achiyemer Le al Menashat Potter, unless he tells him that your Potter knows I'm being mafkir from you, also the Chiyuv Shmira. But if the person is not a Shemer, he tells him, Kach Keli Zev, take this Keli and break it. It's my Keli, and I'm giving you permission to break it. Or the beggar Zev, go ahead and tear this beggar. V'asikein is a Potter, because L'chatchila, he wasn't Chayiv. Because he wasn't chayiv al shemer, he's only chayiv al mazik, and since he was a mazik b'rshus, and he doesn't have a din of a mazik. Halacha yud gimel. Ha'oimel lechaveirei shver kelev shel potter shel pleni al menas she'ata potter. You could go break someone's kelim, and you'll be potter. Now, what does it mean you'll be potter? How does he have a right to say that he'll be potter? It means to say that I'll be chayiv. In other words, you go ahead and break kelev shel pleni, and I'll be chayiv, you won't be chayiv, I'll be chayiv. And lepel, there's a din ishlich l'dvar aveira. So mele, when a person goes ahead and does something, even though he's doing something b'shlichus, but since it's an aveira to go break someone's kelim, so ein shlich l'dvar aveira, so therefore the shlich is responsible. That's this din. Heimel l'chaveira shver kelev shel pleni al menas she'ata potter v'oser hareza chayiv l'shalom. He's chayiv l'shalom. Okila omerle samei ein shel pleni al menas she'ata potter, which over there is for sure is chayiv. So Memela, so this is also to go ahead and break someone's kelim is a isur, and Memela he is responsible, and the fact that the Mishaleach said I'll be responsible doesn't change anything. The person that really is chayiv l'shalom is the one that actually did the hezek. But the person that told him shver kelev shalpleni almanashata potter is shutfei ba'oven v'rashu. He's also part of the avera, whereas he's the one that prompted him to do the avera. So the ma'aseh shvira was done by the other person, so he's chayev. But since he was the one that was, so to speak, he initially was the one that instigated that he should do it, so therefore he's considered a shutiv in the crime, and he's a rasha shari hichshel iver and v'chizik in the every avera. So chiyuv tashlum there isn't, but on the other hand, an avera he has.